guys? It's Trevor here from Vio Gaming, and I'm going to bring you something new that I haven't really done, and I'm going to start to do here now. Um, I'm going to talk about not each lane specifically with the nerfs or buffs, but I'm going to talk about top lane in general. Right now, top lane is dominating, and for me, maining top lane, I hate it. Because honestly, there's so many people that you have to ban now in solo queue and fives, and I like the nerfs that are coming out in this patch. As you know, you want to ban out most of the juggernauts. Darius, Skarner, Garen, Mordekaiser. You want to generally ban out those champions. And the fact that they just nerfed some of these champions will help pick and ban stage, and it just helps maybe even in game too. So we're gonna start with Darius. Darius was a very dominant champion in the top lane. If you remember this patch before, he could honestly Q a minion wave and get all his health back. And he could sustain in lane forever, and he would never run out of mana, and it was just really ridiculous on how much damage he could do with so much health and armor and still be able to sustain in lane. So the fact that they nerfed his the health he's getting back from his Q is gonna be able to help you a lot, especially that he won't be able to heal up as much. And the fact that they're nerfing the mana cost of the Q. So he won't be able to sustain his lane as much as he normally does now. So that's going to help it out, especially for generally the top laners. It's going to help it out a lot. Next, we're going to go to Fiora. Fiora, if you remember, um, in the top lane, she was very dominant if you know how to play her. But she was more dominant in the mid to late game. Honestly, she could stay in lane. She could farm all the way to the mid to late game, and just be so dominant. I mean, her laning phase is not it wasn't as good, but into the mid to laning phase, I mean, she would dominate. I mean, she could get to the back line, she could get her ult off, and then just sit in her ult, and it would heal her up as she did damage. Now what they're doing is they're making her laning phase even worse. So how does it help for the top lane? Well, it helps in a lot of different ways. First off, her laning phase is going to be even more trash than it already was. So it's going to be harder for her to do damage and get kills early in the game, and it's going to be harder for her to farm. Now, when before this patch, she could just stay in lane and farm, but now they're nerfing her armor, nerfing her health, and nerfing the health that she gets back. This is just going to help her. It's going to basically kind of mellow her out. It's going to take her longer to get all that damage into the mid to late game. So now she won't be as viable unless you just give her all the kills in the world. She won't be as viable as in the mid game as she will be in the late game. So it's going to help it out a lot. Next, I'm going to go to Garen. Garen, I didn't like the nerfs that they brought out in this patch. The nerfs, I feel like he needed a lot more nerfs. If you remember the patch before this, or even the Juggernaut patch, when they brought out Garen and Skarner and Mordekaiser, they said something about Garen in the video stating that his Q they felt like didn't do enough damage in the late game. So they worked around it and tweaked him a little bit to make it to where his early game damage was substantially increased, and then his late game did so much. And I thought, in my opinion, I thought that was stupid. Now, because if you remember, even before all these Juggernaut patches, Garen was ridiculous. Garen, his normal build was like Warmogs and then Infinity Edges and stuff like that, and he would just shred through your health with his spin. And now that they upgraded his spin, it does even more. And I feel like it doesn't need to be like that. So, they didn't nerf him too much here. They just nerfed his passive of his ult. Again, I feel like they should have nerfed him more, but we'll have to see as we move more into the patches. All right, Gangplank. Gangplank was so dominant in the top lane. Was really dominant. If you picked him up, you were either really good with him or really bad. If you were really good with him, you could just dominate your lane. It was so easy to dominate your lane. It's ridiculous. His kegs. If you upgraded your Q and then placed the keg down and shot it, and it blew up, it was ridiculous. It could give you so much gold from all the minion. Your wave clear was amazing. Your damage was amazing. You could coast through your lane and have no problems. And the powder keg would have CC. It had slows. Like it was ridiculous. So the fact that they nerfed the damage and the armor penetration that it gives is substantially it helps you out. You can bully him a lot more without getting all the damage. You don't take as much damage, so it helps you out substantially a lot. There's not really much to talk about him. It's just they nerfed one of his main damage keys, so that's really helpful. So now we're gonna go to Skarner. Skarner, if you played in the top lane and somebody was playing Skarner, you knew right off the bat that you knew that you're gonna have trouble. He has three CC abilities. He has a slow and two stuns. Okay, first is his E that they are just now nerfing here. It was a slow, which they're nerfing the slow and the E. Thank the Lord. I feel like they need to nerf more, but the slow and the E. Okay, so he has a slow on the E, and then if he main attacked you and actually hit you with that E and then main attacked you, it's stunned, and then his ult was a stun. I feel like this is really good because the slow's not as much. So it's gonna be harder for him to like run up to you and hit his main attack, and so that's gonna help you a lot more. Again, thank you guys. I'm gonna be bringing you a lot more of this. This is something new I'm gonna be doing, and I'm gonna be carrying it on through all the patches, and I'm gonna be talking about mainly the top lane generally because I know what I'm talking about in the top lane, just because I main top lane in my 5v5s team. So if you want to know more, or if you want to hear more from like other lanes and want me to talk about other lanes, I can do that. So stay tuned, and thank you guys.